Right, maybe it's time now to make a start. So welcome again to our open evening. This event is hosted by the Wilberforce Institute, which is part of the University of Hull, to which we welcome you all virtually. I hope that you have managed to navigate the last 12 months, and that's why we kind of have this meeting on this platform. My name is Lorena Arocha, and before I introduce you the program, the structure, and the content, I would like to provide you with a bit of an overview of how we will organize the session today. So on the next slide, I'll give soon the floor to Professor Trevor Bernard, who is the director of the Wilberforce Institute, who will introduce to you the center. And you'll get to meet all of the teachers that are involved in delivering the program as well. Then I will take the floor and provide you with an overview of the program, modes of delivery, the structure, and the modules. We'll then speak about our postgraduate communities, both at the Wilberforce Institute, but also at the faculty on campus. And I will finish with some more kind of practical questions about how to apply and finance. We'll have time for questions all throughout the presentation. So I would like to encourage you all to use the question tab on the right-hand side to write any questions as they arise, and we'll try to address them throughout the presentation, but also we will have more time at the end of the presentation. So let me now introduce you to Trevor Bernard, who is the Wilberforce Professor of Slavery and Emancipation at the University of Hull and the Director of the Wilberforce Institute.
Thank you very much, Lorena, and welcome everyone to this important open day to talk about the first year of this exciting new MA. As Lorena mentioned, I'm the Wilberforce Professor of Slavery and Emancipation. I'm also the director of the Wilberforce Institute. My specialty is in historical slavery rather than modern slavery, but I will be teaching on this course, on this MA, in particular aspects to do with historical slavery. I've been the director of the Wilberforce Institute since the beginning of 2020, following in some very distinguished footsteps of Professor John Alderfield and Professor David Richardson, both of whom are internationally famous for their studies of slavery and emancipation. We have at the Wilberforce Institute three aims which have animated us since our beginnings in 2006. So we're a well-established research institute at the University of Hull, located in High Street, in a beautiful building, and reflecting two things. Firstly, the long-standing support that the University of Hull has to issues of social justice in general, and also to recognizing the legacy of William Wilberforce, whose house we back onto, and next door to the Wilberforce Museum, one of the leaders of abolition in the 19th century. And in many ways, we stand in the footsteps of him and other people, black and white, and people all around over Britain and over the world, who have gone out of it, who went to try and abolish slavery in the 19th century. Slavery remains still a major crime and a major blight on society, both in Britain and around the world in the 21st century as well. We have three aims. We look at the research on historical slavery. We are involved in heritage related to all issues to do with slavery. And we also do, which is very pertinent for today's discussion and for this MA, we do research on and help practitioners, advise them, and also do policy advice on trying to end modern slavery. And we've been very successful in that. Our efforts have been recognized in a variety of ways, most notably in 2015 with the highly prestigious Queen's Award, given to very few institutions in this country. And we have a very proud history, as I mentioned, of doing work both in terms of academic work, in terms of research, and also in regard to practical policy and practitioner advice about modern slavery in general. Our patron is Archbishop Desmond Tutu. We've had a variety of distinguished visitors, Kofi Annan, John Kafur from Ghana, and other people as well involved in this. We're members of the Modern Slavery Policy and Evidence Centre, which is a major research program designed to combat modern slavery. And locally, we're members of the Humberside Modern Slavery Partnership. So we connect both local, national, and global together in our particular activities. We're advancing the end of slavery and exploitation around the world. We're learning from the past to create positive change today, and we want to root out slavery at its very source, knowing that this is one of the greatest threats to human rights. And it's very exciting for me as director of the Institute to be able to welcome you to this particular MA and to the Wilberforce Institute. Many of the members of the Wilberforce Institute are here today, and you can see them lined up in all their glory in front of you, and you will be able to hear from them and what they do very soon. I would also like to introduce someone who isn't here today because he's resident in Australia at the moment, and so it's very difficult to do this open day, given it's the middle of the night in Australia. This is Professor Jean Alain, who is a professor of law and a leading expert in modern slavery, professor at Monash University and a honorary research fellow at the University of Hull and at the Wilberforce Institute. So welcome everybody today, and I'll hand you back to Lorena, who'll be able to tell you more about this exciting MA and about the details of this particular course, and should introduce you to other members of the Wilberforce Institute. Lorena.
Thank you, Trevor. I think it's time perhaps to for you to meet your teachers who will be part of delivering this program before I kind of introduce you to the structure, the content, and what you will be studying and how. Thank you. Judith?
Hello, everyone. I'm Judith Spikesley, and I'm a lecturer in economic history at the Wilberforce Institute. My research has looked at issues of debt and credit. I look particularly at the history of slavery over a long period of time, but especially at the history of debt slavery. And if you decide to do a dissertation in history, so I'm a historian like Trevor, then I shall look forward to talking to you about that. Thank you, Lorena.
Alicia?
Hi, I'm Alicia Kidd. I'm a postdoctoral researcher at the Wilberforce Institute. My work is all around modern slavery, and I did my PhD on the relationship between conflict and modern slavery, so particularly interested in the drivers and what causes people to become vulnerable at the very beginning. But I'm also really interested and work quite proactively on bridging that gap between practice and academia, making sure that each one is informed by the other. So I am the chair of the Humber Modern Slavery Partnership, where I work closely with a lot of different practitioners, from police and safeguarding to healthcare and education. So I will be working with you on this MA, particularly in the module around policies and contemporary slavery, looking at the practical application of academia.
Nick?
Yeah, hi, I'm Dr. Nick Evans. I'm a part of the Wilberforce Institute and have been so since 2006. So it's been one of the older ones, I guess. I'm part of one of the history colleagues in the Institute, but also undertaken interdisciplinary work. My work has looked at diasporas, or comparing people who have been voluntarily and coercively forced to migrate in the past. Particularly pertinent to the module, I've been exploring that period between 1807, when Britain abolished her slave trade, and 2007, when she celebrated the bicentenary of the abolition of the slave trade, to look at degrees of coercion or trafficking in that period as well. And so I'll be bringing that knowledge, or sharing some of that knowledge with you on two aspects of the programme. On the core module, I'll be helping you to navigate some of the archives, because archives concern not just things in the past, but things in the recent past too. That'll be really helpful to you. And on one of the modules, Contemporary Slavery Studies, I'll be talking about my own research on white slavery or trafficking of people in the past, and how a century ago the attempts by the government to stop trafficking, seen then as contemporary slavery, failed, and what lessons we can draw on that to try and remedy the issues today that we face in trying to end slavery today. But alongside that, I look after whoever's around, so just give me a shout, and happy to answer any questions. And we really look forward to you studying with us. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick. Unfortunately, Simon and Laurie Mae were unable to attend the open evening today, but we have introductions from them virtually too.
Hi everyone, my name's Simon Green. I'm a criminologist and victimologist here at the university, and I'll be teaching you about global victimology, human trafficking and exploitation. My general research is broadly in that area as well. I tend to focus on cultural perspectives and social theory to do with the victims of crime. I'm currently the chair of a funded EU network looking at patterns of victimisation and victim policy and law across 35 different European countries. And I'm working with the police to develop new forms of training and digital innovation to support frontline officers and obviously keep our communities safer. Looking forward to teaching you enormously. Bye for now.
Hi everyone, my name is Laurie Mae Haywood. I'm one of the teachers on the course, and I'll be covering topics such as child trafficking and the exploitation of children, which, by the way, are some of my core areas of interest. I'll also be covering topics such as research methods and research evaluation.
And back to me, whom you met earlier. So my name again is Lorena Rocha. I'm a lecturer in contemporary slavery at the Institute, and my research interests explore the intersection of many of the practices that fall under this umbrella term, contemporary forms of slavery, and how they intersect with questions of gender and migration trajectories. I've been involved in a series of research projects looking at interventions from the ground in contexts like India, and at the minute I'm exploring the policy process in the UK context, and how policy ideas emerge, how change in policy happens, and how reflective they are of the experiences of those affected by these practices. I also have an interest in research methods, which I have taught across many different sort of institutions and very diverse group of students, and how this links to questions of knowledge production, or how we know what we think that we do, and how this knowledge then translates or not into policy and practice. So now moving on to the MA, perhaps the key question that you're asking yourselves: why will I do an MA in contemporary slavery studies and critical victimology? So we have 4 different kind of answers for this question. We think that this MA provides students with a very comprehensive and critical understanding of the very different practices that have come to be associated with this umbrella term, contemporary forms of slavery, in the UK context, more modern slavery. The MA offers students the possibility to study, compare, and evaluate different historical and contemporary approaches to conceptualizing slavery, both past and present, paying attention to debates and trade-offs into how these conceptualizations matter, especially with respect to policy and practice. We will help students in developing and exploring various methodological approaches to understanding the experiences of those who have lived through some of these exploitative practices, and how they understand and respond to these experiences themselves, foregrounding here questions of dignity and social justice, like Trevor mentioned in the introduction. What we hope that most of our students will be able to obtain after following this program is in-depth knowledge of the various responses to these contemporary forms of slavery across diverse geopolitical contexts, and be able to discern why these responses are shaped the way they are and had the impact that they have across a variety of contexts, as I mentioned. Ultimately, we think that this program will allow students to reflect and critically examine and evaluate through the range of tools that you will learn in the MA, anti-trafficking and anti-slavery policy and interventions on the ground. So it is an academic program of study, so you will expect the rigor and challenges of such an MA, but at the same time, as you can see, it does have a very strong applied component, which aims to prepare students who are considering a career in this sector to develop that range of critical tools to reflect and understand the implications of policy and practice in this area at both local, national, but also international levels. The MA also provides a space to reflect and think creatively on existing practice. There might be people who have been working in the sector for a number of years as professionals, practitioners, before joining the MA. And due to the nature of the day-to-day work, you might not be able to kind of reflect on the outcomes of your practice. What this MA offers is that space to reflect on your own practice, but also to be able to explore different approaches when addressing some of the challenges that you might face on a day-to-day basis. So this program has two very different cohorts of students in mind: those with aspirations to work in areas relevant to what this program covers, but also those already engaged in policy and practice in the sector that would like to understand more and better how we have arrived here. The possibility also of working together across these different pathways is also a unique opportunity that the MA offers, because you will be sharing these experiences in discussions, presentations, and class activities. And we think that this will enhance the development of each student. So if you have to summarize all of this, an interest in questions of human trafficking, contemporary forms of slavery, modern slavery, you are considering a career in this sector, or if you are already engaged in a professional capacity in the sector and would like to develop your critical skills and own practice, and would like to have a more kind of rounded understanding of these experiences, then this is the program for you. So now moving to the next slide, how is the MA structure? What will you study and how you will study the content here? We started to develop this MA quite a number of years back, before the pandemic happened and pushed us all into our homes and into this sort of digital world. But from its very inception, we were thinking about delivering the MA using a blended approach, which means that we will be using both online and face-to-face delivery. The reasons why we adopted this model, it was to guarantee maximum flexibility, especially for those who are in work, who might have an interest in following a program such as this. So as I said, we will be delivering content online, but you'll also have the opportunity to come to the Wilberforce Institute and have this face-to-face engagement with all of your teachers, because we want all our students as well to take advantage of the possibilities and opportunities that the Institute and the main campus offer. And be part of postgraduate communities, both at the Institute and at home, that I will be speaking about a bit later on. The program can be followed both on a full-time but also on a part-time basis. Here on the slide, you have a summary of the modules. So as you can see, the program has two core modules that encompass the overall thematic focus of the program, and these are contemporary slavery studies and critical victimology. And this is complemented by two other compulsory modules that allow the development of critical skills essential to graduates of this program. And these are the methods module specific to the field of study, so specific to how you will apply these when studying contemporary forms of slavery, and a policies module as well. Students then apply all of their learning across the program in the MA thesis or portfolio. Maybe I can say a little bit more briefly about the content in each of these modules. But for example, for students taking the program on a full-time basis, they will be taking the Contemporary Slavery Studies and Methods modules in the first term, followed by Critical Victimology and Policies in the second term, and finishing with their thesis or portfolio in the third term. The Contemporary Slavery Study is an introductory and overview module that provides students with an oversight of all the multitude of socio-historical contexts where slavery and related formations have been practiced. So it introduces you to concepts such as slavery, forced labor, debt bondage, human trafficking. So you will be hearing from teachers with expertise in each of these areas. And it allows students to have an overview, but also to develop their own areas of interest and possible specialization. So for example, if you have a particular interest in questions around forced labor, you can go more in depth and write all of your assessments around this particular area of interest. Likewise, if you, for example, have an inclination to look at historical slavery and its legacies. The second core module that you have there is critical victimology, which is rooted in criminological and sociological understandings and critiques around the idea of victim and victimization processes. So you'll be exposed here to different theoretical approaches to understanding all of these and the implications of seeing the process of victimization and the notion of victim through these various approaches. The module also allows students to develop a kind of intersectional lens when exploring some of these issues, which means that students will be encouraged to see how the specific positions of people in society affected and impacted by these see and experience crime, but also how the criminal justice system responds or not to them, and the adequacy of such responses across a variety, once more, of settings. Students will be developing alongside the more sort of academic understanding and content of this module, also critical skills in terms of how to communicate some of these kinds of complex ideas and readings that they will be doing, and discussing and debating the relevance always towards in terms of policy and practice. So you'll be thinking, and the assessments are also not sort of traditional types of assessments that you might be accustomed to. So you'll be, yes, you'll be writing kind of critical essays, but you'll be also developing, for example, shorter pieces as a blog. You'll be asked to develop photographic sort of journals, and also recording sort of podcasts. So what we want to emphasize is, and what we want students to acquire is a different set of range of skills to be able to communicate some of these complex ideas. The methods module introduces you to social scientific research, providing you with sort of frameworks and designed around research, and ensuring that students will get the skills that they need to develop and implement their own research projects. One of the things that we will be emphasizing quite a bit on in this module are questions around ethical dilemmas, and how these intersect with questions of power, voice, and representation when looking at contemporary forms of slavery. So we will be evaluating research studies in their own terms, trying to speak about things like research fatigue, but also the impact of research on participants themselves. And even though you'll be exposed to traditional research methods, there's also a lot of space given to non-canonical, more innovative, but careful and well thought out new methods. And finally, the sort of policies module that you have provides you with an understanding around how to analyze policies and the impact of policies, and to develop tools as well to identify better practice. So the module allows students to reflect upon their own sort of professional practice for those of you that come from such a background, or develop as well professional experience, working, for example, through real case scenarios, replicating some of the multi-agency structures that some practitioners are used to operating under. All of the modules will allow students for specialization. So if you are very keen on exploring one particular area, students can always gear all of their assessment towards their own research or practice-based areas of interest. The thesis or portfolio module, as the name indicates, enables students to choose between an academic or a practice route. So you can either complete a piece of original research or to reflect critically on your professional practice. Again, to do with the whole material that you will be learning and the whole range of skills that you'll be acquiring as part of the program. So I think that this being quite comprehensive kind of overview of what we cover in the MA and what each of the modules will provide. But if you have any questions, do please ask them again using the question tab on the right-hand side on your screens. I think this is a very good point, perhaps, to mention a bit more the kind of support that you will be having when joining us on this MA at the Institute and also at home. Each and every one of our students will be assigned an academic tutor whom you will be working with throughout your studies. And they will all be teachers involved in the delivery of the program as well. They will be your first port of call for any questions on matters related to your academic studies. We'll also have a support services tutor available to all students to kind of address questions more of an administrative nature. At Hall, we pride ourselves with all the additional support structures that we have in place, some of which are identified on the slide in front of you. For example, academic skills. For some of you that might be a bit wary about how up-to-date your academic skills might be, all of this is embedded within the program and how it is delivered, so that those of you that might need this can access it and use it to your advantage. In any case, as you have seen from all of the teachers present here and all of those that pre-recorded their presentations, we are quite an approachable and an accessible bunch of people. And you can always knock on our virtual doors, or if you are at the Institute, on our offices, send us a message, and we'll always be more than happy to chat and talk and discuss any issues that you'll be facing or any questions that you might have. Right, next, perhaps we can talk a little bit about the postgraduate communities that you'll be joining when doing this MA. At the Wilberforce Institute, as you can see on the slide, we have here some pictures of our existing PhD students. Not all of them are there. They're all working on their individual PhDs, and you'll get to meet them all, and some of them might even deliver some of the sessions in the program. But we also have a series of additional events taking place at the Institute that we expect our MA students to be present at and participate in. For example, we have the Wilberforce Institute webinar session at this time, which usually take place on a Thursday evening. But even though we kind of looking towards maybe starting to go back to face-to-face, we also trying to think about how to ensure that we can continue to broadcast all of these seminar virtually as well, so that online attendance remains possible. But rather than having me talking about all of this, I think that I've gone on for too long. Maybe we can now hear from some of our PhD students themselves who have recently started their PhDs with us. And that'll give me a chance to drink a bit of water as well.
My name is Jennifer Nishitende, and I am a first-year PhD student at the University of Hull with the Wilberforce Institute. I'm part of the cluster Living with the Consequences of Modern Slavery, and my particular research is on life after modern slavery, looking at women and children who have survived modern slavery in the United Kingdom, and particularly looking at their long-term trajectories, how they are able to move on.
My name is Mavuto Banda. I'm doing a PhD in human geography. I'm researching around childhoods, but my research title is I'm evaluating child labor bans in Malawi's agriculture sector, particularly focusing on tea and tobacco. Maybe to put this in perspective, tea and tobacco, they are very important crops in Malawi. I came into Hull around October to start my PhD. It was a difficult time, of course, to be in, but I was so amazed by the support that I got within the university, from fellow students, university management, my supervisors. I've been able to settle in quickly without any issues. So I find Hull to be a very nice place.
I can say that the interactions that I've had with people in Hull has been very positive. It's been really nice, and I'm really excited for everything to open up and to have more interactions with people. Of course, the weather for someone like me, I'm coming from Namibia, which is a semi-desert, and it's really hot. So the weather has been something that I had to get used to, but I have learned that there's no bad weather in Britain, only inappropriate clothing.
We talk a lot around our research topics, sharing ideas and opportunities for conferences, webinars.
I have learned a lot in the past 6 months, and I'm just looking forward to learning more.
They will get an education, they will also get friends, networking with people from all over the world. So that's a great experience for someone who is looking at expanding their horizon.
Yes, you've heard from them, and they've obviously been having that experience, and this is what we're looking to provide to all of our MA students as well. Besides being part of this community at the Institute, because the Wilberforce Institute is part of the University of Hull, you'll also be joining postgraduate communities at the Faculty of Arts, Cultures and Education on main campus, also known as FACE. There are kind of postgraduate brown bag seminars. There's also socials organized for MA and PhD students to kind of communicate, share their ideas and projects. And there's also seminar series where external speakers come and present their latest research. And we'll be encouraging all of you to kind of participate and be part of all of these different communities. So last but not least, perhaps how to apply. So you can see on that website that we've provided on the slide, where you can find some more information about the MA program, but also from the picture that you have on the slide, there's that kind of button that says apply now. So if you click that, and you can go straight to the system and start your online application process. I've done it a couple of times myself, and it is quite an interactive and easy system to navigate. But again, if you do get stuck anywhere, do please get in touch, and we will help you through it. In terms of finance, this year only, and for the next academic year, 2021, the university is offering both international and UK students the same fees for MA programs such as this one. And we also have a discount for existing undergraduate students that might be considering taking an MA at the University of Hull. And also to emphasize that in terms of financing this, there's the possibility to apply for master's loans that both UK students, but also even despite Brexit, EU students with settled or pre-settled status can apply for. If there are any more specific questions around finance, we have Nicola here, who joined us from HE Funding, and she'll be very happy to respond to any of your questions on these matters. So I think I've come to the end of what I wanted to say about our MA. So I think it's time now perhaps to look at some of the questions that you've been posting and try to respond to them. My screen for some reason is really very small, so I'll try to kind of enlarge this a little bit and see if I can see some of the questions.
Lorena, we haven't had any questions yet, so if it's a good time, if anybody wants to ask a question, they can either type or they can talk to chat to us live if they wish to.
Don't be shy. We'll read them out, so you don't have to pose the questions yourself.
Okay. Andrew's asked, what is the deadline to apply for the programme?
There is no specific deadline as such, but we are reviewing applications by the end of June. So the better that you apply, the sooner that you apply, the better, basically.
Okay,
but
Susan.
Around, yeah. Sorry.
Susan Capes has asked, do you have any links with local NGOs concerning the trafficking?
Yes, I should have stressed that somehow slipped through my presentation, especially in the policies module in contemporary forms of slavery, which is the fourth module that I showed on the slide. That module will be delivered in conjunction with the Hamburg Modern Slavery Partnership, which works with both NGOs but also statutory service providers working with people affected by these issues directly. So the answer is yes.
Rebecca Bloomfield's asked, what support is available with regarding to accessing the institute? Are you able to access it whenever you want to as a student?
Yes, we have a kind of open door sort of policy. So there will be, and we do have at the Institute, postgraduate spaces. So computers, desks, the library as well that we have, and that you saw in the video with the students. It is an open space, and we expect the students to come and use it and be part of the community. So the answer is yes.
Maria Sellers asks, what sort of commitment is expected when doing the program part-time? How many hours a week do you expect to teach?
Yes, so For students that might be considering doing this part-time, I explained in my presentation that per term, students will have 2 modules when doing it full-time. So that comes down to 1 module per term for those part-time students. So you start with the core modules first, and then you move to the more sort of skills geared type of modules, the methods and the policy modules that you will do in your second year. In terms of hours per week, you will have 1 per module. You are expected to have 1 hour of 1 lecture per week, and also 1 seminar per week at least. Often you will have additional sort of activities around academic skills to better support your learning. But as I said earlier, the ways in which the MA, the program, will be delivered will maximize the flexibility. So for students that are in work, they can follow the pre-recorded lecture in their own time. And then there is an expectation that all students will join at the same time together for the seminar discussions.
Andrew Smith would like to ask an oral question. So Andrew, over to you.
Right.
Thanks, Nick. I think this might be a question for Nicola as well, possibly. I just got myself confused a little bit around, do I have to have my application in before I apply for finance, or do I kind of do them at the same time, or first time thing for me, so I'm not really sure how it works.
I was on mute, sorry. The application process for student finance is totally separate to applying for your place on the course. So you can do them in either order technically, but the applications for student finance won't open until June. So you might want to apply for your place on the course first and then apply for the master's loan when the applications open in June.
Okay, thank you.
Charlotte Hall asks, how much support is there in finding employment after the course? I'm concerned the area is quite niche.
Well, as part of the delivery of the program, you will be obviously be meeting and getting input from NGOs, but also statutory services that are already providing this kind of work. So there will be possibilities for networking as part of the delivery of this program. What we cannot guarantee, I guess, is a kind of job at the end of it, because we understand how challenging the labor market might be. But also, as Trevor mentioned at the very beginning, the Wilberforce Institute is part of the Modern Slavery Policy and Evidence Center. And in there's also a wider range of policy and practice-based NGOs and services. And again, you'll be able to kind of be part of those networks in a way. I'm not sure I've responded very well to this question, but Alicia, I don't know, or Trevor, I don't know if you would like to step in and help me out with this one.
Sure. Well, so from the perspective of the Humber Modern Slavery Partnership, we've got about 60 statutory, non-statutory, and third sector organisations involved in the partnership. So, well, like Lorena said, we'd obviously be able to facilitate conversations there between different organisations. Obviously, that's not a promise of a job with any of them at the end, as no masters can promise if you're not in health. But we are well connected nationally with various different non-governmental organisations and statutory organisations and businesses that are really starting to pick up on modern slavery. So one of the other things we do in the Wilberforce Institute is we've got a risk assessment service, which works with businesses to help them identify and mitigate risk in their supply chains. So that's another thing linking into another aspect of business and those organisations that might not necessarily work directly in the field of modern slavery, but it is now a topic that's relevant for a lot of organisations that never would have thought it would be relevant to them before. And another thing to consider is that while this is a master's on modern slavery, it's really applicable to a wider range of issues regarding safeguarding and safety issues and criminological issues. So you'll be well trained and well versed in modern slavery, but it's very rare that that's a standalone issue. So you will learn about the interlinking issues that come together with it, which will make you a good candidate for jobs in various different fields, because you are right that modern slavery is very niche, but it is that the things that you will learn will be more broadly applicable.
Thank you. And also we do have career services at the university, and they will also be part and parcel of some of the things that you will get to explore as part of the MA.
Just add to that as well, Lorena, that as part of Hull's career service, they have an opportunity where if you can find a place where you could undertake a paid placement, then they will be able to, normally in the summer period, to give you some financial support towards that. So it can help that organisation to pay you a decent wage to do that research, and that bolsters your CV. So it's a really good thing which lots of our undergraduates do, and it really gives them an opportunity to get that valuable paid research opportunity if you can set it up. So we've got another question, Lorena, from Deborah Morgan. Could you tell me more about the possibilities there are for the MA students to do longer research essays? And secondly, what sort of support would I get to do this sort of research if I don't have that sort of experience before coming to study on the programme?
I'm not sure what she means by longer research project, but as I mentioned, it depends on what the interest of the student is. So if you are more interested in following an academic pathway, there is that possibility in the program. So often the ways in which the whole MA is structured is for you to incrementally develop your understanding and your research skills. So you can try out ideas in the first taught modules in your first term. For example, in the contemporary slavery studies, you can start to write a little bit around an area of your interest. And then in your methods module, you can start to, for example, explore your own research project and develop a proposal, which then you can implement as part of your MA thesis. So all of this kind of stepping sort of approach to your learning is included there. So you can explore that research project from the moment that you start your MA to the moment that you finish it, implementing your own research project. So you have about a year to do just that. And obviously you can then, if that is not enough and the MA hasn't provided you and you have an interest in exploring further, there's obviously the possibility of exploring a PhD after that.
Okay, we've got another question. Are there any discount for staff members, and how would this apply? If that's one for Nicola, maybe.
Yes. Staff members get a discount on part-time master's courses only. So I'm not sure whether there's a part-time option.
There is, as I mentioned, it's full-time and part-time, both. Yeah.
So there's a 50% discount then for part-time, as long as the staff member has a permanent contract with the university, so they're not fixed term, and they've been working here for a year at the point when they're going to start the masters.
So what happens?
So it's quite substantial.
What happens if somebody's been working on a fixed term contract? They've done a year, but they've not got a permanent job. Do they get a discount or not?
No, not unless they had done an undergraduate degree here, and then they would get the alumni discount, which occasionally does happen, but otherwise no.
Thank you. Okay, so I think that's it for the questions. Quite a few questions there. So it's yeah, I think it's quite interesting. And I guess Lorena, thinking of from a student perspective, what type of independent projects could they undertake? Are they going to be guided towards particular areas of contemporary slavery policy when they come to do the final stage of their dissertation, or can they literally bring to it whatever they want to do, really, you know, from their own backgrounds?
It's driven by their own interests. So they might have, as I said at the very beginning, they might have an interest in child trafficking and they want to explore that further. So working with both their academic tutors, but also the teachers across the program, they can refine and develop those ideas and then do their own kind of research project as part of that dissertation. So yes, there's that emphasis on student-driven specialization, if you like.
Okay. Thank you.
Is that it? Yes.
That's all the questions, I think. Yeah, don't think I've missed any. If I have, please speak up.
So thank you, everybody. That's all I have left to say, and thank you to all of the teachers here present and Nicola as well for being part of this. But obviously, if there are any more questions or kind of burning issues that we did not quite address, please feel free to contact us, reach out to us, and we'll try to either set up a kind of conversation around your kind of personal circumstances or respond via email. So thank you very much, everybody, and I hope that you all have a lovely evening.